Congratulations to the Doña Ana County Clerk's Office for creating 100 episodes of preserving history and democracy, and for letting me be part of it. This archive is going to be a valuable asset to the community and anyone interested in the history of southern New Mexico.
A big congratulations to the podcast crew of Preserving History and Democracy on their 100th episode. What an honor it's been for my colleagues and I at the NMSU Archives and Special Collections to jump on the mic with you and share with your listeners the historical backgrounds of the people and businesses who helped shape Doña Ana County into what it is today. Cheers to the first 100 and many more.
Hello there, I'm Troy Ainsworth. Good evening, and on the occasion that we're all watching right now, the upcoming 100th episode of the podcast. Hey, this is incredible for the Doña Ana County Clerks Preserving History and Democracy presentations. Continued good luck. This is an incredible milestone. Keep doing all the great things that you're doing. We really appreciate it. Letting grassroots and citizen historians come on and share some important stories about our past here in Doña Ana County. It's very important, and it helps us understand our heritage, our legacy, and what we can build for the future. Thank you so much to the staff at the clerk's office for everything that they're doing in promoting local history.
My name is Amanda López Askin. I am the Doña Ana County Clerk, and we want to welcome you to a very special episode of the Doña Ana County Clerk's Office Preserving History and Democracy podcast. Why is it special? Well, today is a milestone for us. This is our 100th episode. When we started this podcast, I actually had the idea probably 5 or 6 years ago, but we didn't have the research end of it down yet. We didn't have the equipment. We didn't have the talent, which would be Cynthia and Jacob, to continue with the idea. But when we did, boy, were we off and running. So when we started it, our goal was really not that complicated. We wanted to share all of the work that happens in the Doña Ana County Clerk's Office. The reason that our moniker is Preserving History and Democracy is because we do those two things. We wanted to highlight the incredible history of our beautiful borderlands in Doña Ana County, and we wanted to provide sound, trusted information about our elections. We often talk about elections because they make news, but we also wanted to make sure to highlight the strong, consistent work of the recording and filing side. We are the historians of our community. Today we're going to talk about our journey, how we got to 100 episodes, and I am thrilled to have my team members with me, and that would be Cynthia Mendoza, now known as Cynthia Diaz. There you go. Not only has the 100 episodes happened, but in the meantime, congratulations are in order. You got married.
Thank you.
So Cynthia Diaz, as well as Angelica Valenzuela, and she is a longtime employee of Doña Ana County. She is a team lead. She is our supervisor in recording and filing. When we have a question about anything connected to recording, filing, history, archives, she is our go-to. So hello.
Happy to be here. Hi. That was a great intro. Thank you.
I mean, I could go on and on about each of you. I'm not going to, because you've really dug in.
Yeah.
You and Jacob and Angelica got on board. She's a reluctant on-camera person,
right,
but she's engaging and people like her. So
she does a great job.
I know. I know.
I'm happy to help her.
So I think we've all had a part of it. One of the things I do leading this office is to hopefully let you all shine. And so I come in when you all tell me to, basically. Yeah. And today would be one of those days. So let's get talking about these last 100 episodes. Angelica, you're on.
Hi.
Hi. How are ya?
I'm very good.
Welcome to the 100th episode of Preserving History and Democracy podcast.
It's so exciting.
Isn't that crazy?
Yes.
100 episodes.
Yes.
Crazy
I'm
good.
so proud.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Well, again,
good work.
When I started in 2018, 2019 here as clerk, podcasts were kind of taking off. Mm-hmm. And I thought, wow, wouldn't it be a good way? But there was so many other things going on and so many other things that need to be accomplished. And frankly, at the end of the day, our responsibilities are statutory. This is not one of them. But if we can do things like this to educate and support our community, we want to. So we had to make sure all of our other stuff was taken care of before we started the fun stuff. And so we actually started in July 23rd of 2023. So let's talk about the history part and what your thoughts were when we first had this.
Oh, I thought it was a great idea. The documents specifically, I'm recording and filing, so I'll start with recording and filing. The documents that we preserve in our records are really the community's stories.
Yeah.
How the community developed. When we look at marriage records, deed records, plat maps, all of that shows how Doña Ana County grew and became what it is today. The way that I look at it is the clerk's office is the official record keeper. We're the memory of the community.
Oh.
But these individuals...
You're like Google before Google was a thing, you know? We got all these documents that support, you know, these marriages, deeds, all these important documents that...
Yes. And we're a part of we say it all the time, we're a part of the most important moments in a person's life. Marriage licenses, owning a business, owning real estate property, creating a home. We're the record keepers, we're the memory, but these individual stories and topics that we showcase on the podcast, that's the heart of Doña Ana County.
Yeah.
I love that. I think it sounds so like cut and dry. Well, we have documents, but what do those documents show and what is in them and who is in them is really important. And so it helps us connect to each other. It helps us to find deeper meaning and be more connected to our community, especially if you find that you are part of it, the beginnings. So one of the things that we try to do is to connect the conversation to actual things that we have we are caretakers of these documents, and there's so much so that they're literally in a vault. Can you talk about why connecting the conversations to our actual, because it's accurate, I would say, right? So we could start from there. Why is it so meaningful do you think, when guests come in even?
Well, it's meaningful because they tell the complete story. We tell a part of it, they tell a part of it, and so we're connected in that way. Many times our residents will come in contact with our records only through real estate transactions. And they'll come in and say, well, I know I need to turn in this paper, but what does that mean? And what is the clerk's role? Well, our role is to preserve documents forever.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have the very first land transfer, because in the United States, the only way to prove property ownership is through what's called a chain of title. And that's the history of that piece of land.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have the very first deed from the United States of America to the first individual owner, right? And so we're connected in that way when we have guests who are talking about their family, right? Or Shalem Colony, things like that. And we're going to have the property records.
So we have the receipts.
We have the receipts.
All of them. Literally.
Yes, we have the receipts.
I love getting to see authors and historians come in, and they're trying to figure out a story. They're trying to figure out, it's almost like a piece of a puzzle for them. They go back to the oldest records they could find for whatever topic they're researching, and they're able to kind of go through the chain of like you said, the chains of that property owner or whatever, and kind of just see how things developed over time. So it's pretty cool.
We have covered some very cool things, so let's talk a little bit about that. We'll go into those weeds a little bit. And Cynthia, because you've been, your hands in all of it, talk about the emotion that comes up from people that start talking about their family history.
Yeah.
And when they dig into it, how because I remember specifically connected to Stallman Farms.
Yeah.
And literally the individual going back to the properties that were there.
Yeah.
And getting emotional talking about this. So can you share some of the emotional end of it? Of course, my background's in therapy, so of course I want to be like, tell me about your feelings.
Start crying.
Tell me about your feelings. Tell me about that.
No, it's been amazing. Just we get comments too on YouTube, people giving us stories about, we'll have a topic and they'll say, oh, my family is from that. They have experience with this topic. So it's been incredible to just see people just so emotional, and they have such an attachment to some of these topics that we've had. The Bracero program, for example, I know we had Dr. Blanca Araujo, and she grew up at the Stallman Farms, and she kind of told us about beginning to end, how her experience was. You could tell she just lit up about how an amazing childhood that she had there, and a great experience, and it's so cool to get to see these stories.
Right. And so for those of you who maybe aren't aware, Stallman Farms, huge pecan growers, and just really an institution in Doña Ana County. And if you're headed to south on Highway 28, you drive through some of the most beautiful, picturesque, kind of idyllic trees that overhang the small highway, and it feels like you're in another world. So imagine that you actually grew up in that community with a separate community. And they've talked about how, where we were on section whatever, and they were over here, because they did provide housing for those.
Absolutely.
Because they needed the agricultural help. And so there's a program specifically designed to encourage that and bring people to our community to do the work and create that history and legacy.
That's awesome. She was talking too about, like, they would have parties there. Like, if somebody was getting married, they would get married there, and baby showers would happen there. So it was really cool to get to hear about. It was almost like a whole other city outside of here.
That's
so
real community,
awesome.
I think.
Absolutely.
Can we talk about Billy the Kid?
Sure.
So my mom is from Fort Sumner, New Mexico,
Oh, cool.
right, which has its own Billy the Kid history.
Yeah.
But we actually have some. So tell us about how that kind of evolved and how we were like, we got some Billy the Kid going on over here.
Yes, because when you think of Billy the Kid, you may think Lincoln County, right? We have Messia, so we know that he was jailed.
I literally have been to the jail, right,
Yes.
at the corner and the plaza, yes.
And so we do have some Billy the Kid history.
Yeah.
But, we've shared this before in one of the podcasts.
Yeah.
That we started a historical records project where we had a bunch of miscellaneous records. We wanted to really look at them and organize them because we weren't sure what was in there.
Yeah.
And a lot of them were original documents. And I've been here 20 years, and in those 20 years, I hadn't been able to look at them.
Yeah.
And one of the records that we saw there were coroner's reports. I had no idea that the
This is a
county
cool story,
clerk's
everyone.
office,
Prepare yourself.
we're the holders of coroner's records. So this was before the coroner. We had a coroner, a doctor, right? Specifically here to determine how someone passed. And so the coroner, there was a coroner's court, a coroner's jury, and they were just prominent members of the community that would
Can you imagine if
be
they
called.
still did that? Like, just random people say,
you got to close
part
up
of this
shop.
jury.
There's something funny going on over here.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to come look. And that's what they did. And it was the community service.
Right.
And so in looking at all these coroner's reports, we pulled out one randomly just to share.
Yeah.
And it ended up being the coroner's report for not Billy the Kid,
Right.
but for Pat Garrett.
Who is obviously
Linked
pretty
to Billy.
connected.
Yes. The coroner's report was simple. It stated facts that we knew, but we have it,
so
the
cool.
original,
Yeah.
written in pencil, signed by the jurors, stating who shot him.
Yeah.
That's cool.
And then we had David Thomas as a guest kind of talk about the history of Billy the Kid and Pat Garrett, which is really cool. And now we have a piece of history that just shows how that story developed.
Yes.
So,
David Thomas, renowned historian, author from our community.
Absolutely.
And we were very lucky to have him on as a guest.
Right, so we can highlight talent we have here locally.
Yeah.
I know you all have talked about Shalom Colony, obviously. Claire Bell Williams, who was a spearheader of so many amazing things in our community. So thank you all. Yeah. Thank you all for highlighting what we've done in terms of how we've kept these records and safeguarded them, which is an honor. Yeah. At the end of the day, 100%. It's an absolute honor.
Absolutely.
And so we're going to continue to do that. So if you have ideas for stories, the history, let us know. But let's talk a little about, and I mentioned this, kind of alluded to it, like we focus so much on elections. Mm-hmm. We don't want to ever forget the other side of our office, what I call is you all ground us. But let's go into elections. Let's talk. And of course, history is a huge part of what we've done as a podcast. But another goal specifically that I know what I wanted when I started this podcast was to talk about elections and increase the transparency, increase educational opportunities to really understand and go a little bit more in the weeds, where we can't necessarily do that in the newspaper when they're giving a quote, or even a commission meeting where I have unlimited time to talk. But that's not the purpose of a commission meeting, is to hear me talk. So let's talk about those conversations.
I think this has given us such a great opportunity to talk about elections, and elections are so statutorily driven, like you've said, and we need to make sure we follow statute in everything we do. And sometimes it's hard for people to understand. Even me, as someone who kind of just came into elections, I had no election experience before this job, but it's been great to kind of learn about why we do things and why things happen. It's not just for fun. Like, we follow everything that we have to do.
Right. And one of the things I say often is the best thing about my job is sometimes the worst thing about my job is that everything that we do is driven by law, a statute. So there may be things I don't super love, but it doesn't matter what I think. I'm obligated to implement them, and the same can be said for, I am thrilled for certain things, like whether it's, we now have a permanent absentee list. Mm-hmm. So basically, if you know for the rest of your life, or at least the near future, that you want to vote via mail, you basically have to go through a process for sure, but you're also going to receive a ballot like clockwork every election, and that's something that you had to apply for, right? So, but that's statutorily driven. That's something I love. Yeah. It just happens to be one that I like. Some of them are not, but here we go, right? We got to do it. But one of the things that was important for me was, because I started this job at a very chaotic time in 2018. I was appointed 5 days later. We had the 2018 election. We got a lot of national coverage for it. We have, we're a border community that has a highly watched congressional District 2 race. Right. And running elections is not for the weak, that's for sure. Yeah. And when I started in 2018, 5 days in, the election started. 5 days. And I'm glad I did it, but it was an overload of information. And one of the things I learned, which was a very hard lesson, is we need to over-communicate at all times. There is no such thing as too much communication and knowledge about what we're doing, because it increases transparency, connection, trust. And even if there's some things that we're not thrilled about, I've had to stand in front of situations where and it didn't matter if I was there when it happened. Like, there is something that happened, and, dating back years, it was discovered on my watch, and so we had to send out a press release. We had to talk about it. And what we hope that leads to is increased trust. So that even if it isn't something that I'm thrilled about, I'm going to tell you about it, because I want you to know that we are going to be honest at all times and that you can trust us. And I hope that this has helped with that. And also it humanizes me, specifically as an elected official. We're often vilified. Like, I talk a lot about the threats, but they're real. Yeah. I have had to call the FBI because my life has been threatened, or I have been accosted at a grocery store while with my 3-year-old at the time. Yeah. And I say accosted was verbally. The online, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I chose to do this. I'm proud of what we do. And because I believe in what we do so much, I'm willing to open myself up to that, because there's so much opportunity other than that to connect people with elections. And at a time in our country when it's become contentious, it has become a talking point more than anything. We do the work, the day-to-day. And so increasing the transparency, educating voters about the details, making sure we're accessible and you know us. You walk in, and if you listen to our podcast, you can go, can I talk to Angelica? Because I have a question about XYZ that I saw on your podcast, and my family may be involved in that. So, and something you didn't know about, and you know everything, but something you didn't necessarily know about is, tell me about how surprised you were about our rankings in terms of elections.
I mean, I knew elections ran smoothly. I've always had faith in our election system here in New Mexico, but wow, there's such a process to everything. Everything is double checked, and Janice and her team is amazing.
Quadruple checked.
Yeah, checked several times just to make sure everything is done correctly. And like I said, Janice and her team are incredible. They take everything very seriously, as they should. It's elections. So I think the number one ranking is very well deserved.
So, Angelica, you've been here for 20 years. You've seen elections, the ebbs and flows. Kind of what in the last 5 years, what are your observations about elections and how it works and what we're doing?
I think that people don't realize that it's in New Mexico. I can speak about the process here in the state. Mm-hmm. It is impossible to do anything nefarious with elections.
Yeah.
There are so many checks and balances. Everybody's job is sometimes dependent on the other person doing their job well, and we're checking that constantly. Our voter rolls are, we have an auditing system. And in the past few years, we've excelled so much.
Well, I will say that you and your team, and we're all one team to be clear, but
Yes.
there is a focus of each, right? One's elections and one's recording and filing.
Yes.
But you all are part of that.
Yes, and in the past few, in the most recent years, we've really tried to become one team.
Yeah.
And help as much as we can,
Yeah.
especially during election time.
Yeah.
And
All hands
that
on deck.
Yes, all hands on deck. And that gives us, in recording and filing, also a sense of pride that we have our hands in elections as well.
Yeah, you're part of
And
elections
yes,
in Doña Ana County in a big way.
and it's important work, and we do it with integrity. And
We're community members. We live here.
Yeah.
This idea, I think sometimes that there's some kind of fix-in or that, I mean, I was born and raised in this community. I was born and raised in Las Cruces. I choose to raise my daughter here. I'm a 3-time Aggie. I could go on and on. Like the idea that there's some kind of like, you know, hidden agenda is unfortunate. And when you talk about that number one ranking, I just wanted to expand on that. New Mexico's not ranked one in a lot of things. Mm-hmm. We want to. We're doing everything we can to get there, but we have some challenges for sure. So we always want to highlight this idea that we are number one in election administration, which basically head to MIT. They have an election index and they rank states. And frankly, we've implemented all the best practices, and that has earned us that. And so, you know, we appreciate it. We've had some very cool people on. We've had, of course, our Secretary of State. We've had Donald Palmer, who's with the Election Assistance Commission.
Awesome. He's
He's a presidential appointee. Tina Barton, who is known nationally for de-escalating conflict at the polls, but also being a target of violence.
My heart drops every time I hear that voicemail that she received, because it was
and if
terrible.
you are wondering, you know, head to our archives and look up Tina Barton, and you will hear some things that I think people need to understand. And frankly, I think there's this party like, no, Tina's a very proud Republican. And has become a friend of ours for sure, and so we feel for her. It's on all sides, and so we wanted to offer education, and it's been very helpful. And why do you think this podcast matters?
I mean, like, I think we do a lot of election education. We give people information on local elections. We talk to important people like Tina. We talk to just a whole bunch of people that have so much knowledge on our county. And I think it's kind of, this podcast has been a great way to show how much we care about our community. The clerk's office cares about our community, not only in elections, but in recording and filing, and just highlighting all the history we have. Because, I mean, I love Doña Ana County. I was raised here, too. So I think it's so important to just highlight how incredible our community is.
You have 3 locals that are talking to you about our community, and so you've talked about why the podcast is important. and hopefully we're meeting those goals. We're always open to feedback. We wish we were perfect, but we're not. So if you have any suggestions, we're more than open to them. But I'll let Cynthia kind of end this, and she has been the spearheader, so to speak, of all things podcasts the last couple of years. So kudos to you and your professionalism.
Thanks.
You have a history in radio communication and basically reaching out to the community, and that is highlighted by your attention to detail. You're moving this forward. These are the kind of projects that can go on the wayside and people forget about them, and a couple of months later you're like, oh yeah, we should probably do a podcast episode. But you've been consistent from day one, and so that's why this has been successful, is because you would not stop. And so you and Jacob are more than appreciated. So I'll let you close it out.
Okay. Well, I mean, I want to say thank you to all of our guests that we've had, all of our just incredible people from our staff too that have joined, and kind of sometimes they're reluctant about it. They don't want to do it at first because they're scared. And then they do it and they're like, that was fun. Yeah. So we're just so thankful to all of our staff members, all of our guests, historians, writers, election professionals. They all have been such an integral part of this podcast. So we're just so grateful for everybody. I want to say thank you to Caroline, who's not here today in our podcast, but she's done so many episodes with us as well. Yeah. So thank you to Caroline. Thank you to Jacob, because this would truly not be possible without Jacob.
Our behind the scenes master.
Yes. So Jacob has a lot of things that he does here. Is focus his elections, but he has, other. This is part of elections, right? Yeah. This is what we do. So thank you, Jacob, for sure.
Yes, this would truly not be possible without Jacob. I remember editing like the first few episodes myself, and I was like, oh my gosh, it's so time consuming.
It's work.
But he gets them done so fast, and he's a pro now. So thank you to Jacob. And I guess that's a wrap, right?
That's a wrap. All right. Well, thank you, everyone, for being part of this journey. Please share our podcast. Again, if you have any ideas, always reach out to us. We're happy to listen and potentially run with your idea. We're very appreciative of the opportunity to do this. Not every clerk's office is able to, so I'm grateful to all the support we receive from our administration, and our commissioners continue this. They believe in education, transparency, and connecting to the community, and because of that, we've been able to do that. So thank you so much. This is the 100th episode of Preserving History and Democracy podcast by the Doña Ana County Clerk's Office, based in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And tune in, 103, 101, 102, 103 will be here soon.